If you'll turn your mics on.
96 last.
All right, everybody on? Great. Okay, we're going to go ahead and call our meeting of the Wayne County Board of Education to order. It's 6:01. And if you'll stand, we'll say the pledge. Lauren, would you care to lead us this evening? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, let the record show that all board members are present in person this evening. And we can begin with our recognitions if we have any.
No recognitions.
None this evening. All right. Let's move on to our presentations. Our academic spotlight this evening is effective utilization of tools in the West Virginia Assessment Hub, Buffalo Elementary, with Jason Hatfield, Faith Ramey, and Lisa Knotts.
So, Mr. Hatfield and Ms. Knotts weren't able to be here, but the person that we really wanted to feature was Mrs. Ramey and her classroom practices. So, you guys know, you hear us talk about the different tools that the state provides for us through the West Virginia Assessment Hub. And so this is where students in grades 3 through 8 go at the end of the year to take their general summative assessment. But this also is where the tools that the state provides to teachers that are standards-based, that they are able to use as support tools and teaching tools for the students in the classroom. And those are, as you can see, kept in the non-summative tab. When you go into that tab, you will see that there are modules, which are over here highlighted on the left, and then there are questions through test authoring over here on the right. And all of the questions and the tools that are in these two tabs are standards-based and align not only to our state standards, but also, since our summative assessment is based on our students' grade level standards, it also provides lots of opportunities for teachers to have these as teaching tools and for students to have these to really help hone their skills as they move toward the end of the year. So we encourage teachers to start using these tools because they are completely standards-based and they're grade level aligned. We encourage teachers to start using these from the very beginning of the school year. Sometimes that can be challenging for teachers. These are very rigorous questions, and the modules provide rigorous practice assessments. And so sometimes it can be tempting to leave these closer to testing and then really try to immerse students in them for the last month or two and help them build not only their comfort level and their skills with the tools that they'll have to utilize, but also to kind of tie up loose ends. And that can be a classic mistake. So I really wanted to look at teachers who use these tools as actual instructional tools because they are on grade level and they are standards based. And as we looked around at some of the different practices, we have lots of teachers who do a really good job with these. But one of our best is Miss Jenkins. And one of the things that she does that is so unique is, first of all, she starts at the very beginning of the year. She incorporates these and braids them into everything she does throughout the year. She uses them for reading, for writing, and for math. And she really blends them hand in hand with all of our other curricular tools, which is truly a best practice. And her test scores, her summative results always reflect that. Her kids are always some of our highest performing. And so she really does a great job representing Wayne County. And so she has shared some pictures of how she uses this with her students, and we wanted her to explain a little more to you guys.
Like she said, I use them all year, throughout the whole year. This is in reading. I normally pick a passage from test authoring or a module, and I'm one that aligns with the standards I'm going to teach. And normally starting on Monday, like we'll read the passage and then we do an activity with it. And we do something every day with it. And for example, on this day, we do different graphic organizers. This one is cause and effect with the passage from test authoring. And then you can see as they're filling it out, and I have them working with a partner. And I try to do a lot of, because I teach third grade, it's really hard for third graders to look back in the text. They just want to go, I think it's this and that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think, and I go, well, if you can look back,
I agree.
why wouldn't you be, 100% sure? And so I've really been working on that with them, and I think these are a great way to do it because they have a lot of rigor and they have a lot of, you have to look back. It'll have you talk about, answer a question, for example, what's going on in paragraphs 5 and 6. And I tell them I can't remember what's going on in 5 and 6, and I've read it I don't know how many times. So I teach them, how to look back, and we do a lot of organizers that help encourage that, cause effect, main idea, Venn diagrams. A biggie in third grade is comparing and contrasting two texts, and that is hard for them. But the more practice we do with these, the more they get used to them. And so this is just showing some of my kids using it. Keep clicking, and also I stole this from Wayne Elementary, so they get the credit on this. But they talked about how when they use them, they make bookets. The game. It's an online game that they can do. And I've started making bookets that have questions about the text. And so it makes them want to, read it and pay attention more because it's a fun game. So this is them playing one of the bookets. And I don't put test questions that they're going to see at the end of the week on there because to me that's kind of just memorization. I try and give them one that's going to help prepare them for the end of the week. And like I said, the text evidence, I throw in somewhere they have to go and look back on that paper that's right there beside them. So we do that throughout the week, and we read it every day. I have them read a day for homework. And then near the end of the week, they take a test on it. They finally get the test, and we go onto the portal, and they take the test. And then, they get a look back and all that. And then I print off their scorecard because it gives one how they do, and it has the question and it tells how many points they are. For example, they got a 1 out of 1, they got it right, 0 out of 1, they missed it. And we pick out, they have a tool on there that's the 5 most missed. So we go over the 5 most for that test. However, yesterday in the cadre meeting, they showed us another tool that helps break down how they do on each test. So I think I'm going to look into using that too. But then I use that to help group my kids for reading centers and other things like that. Sometimes we even use these passages in a reading center. And then just a side note with this, they all have their computers closed because this particular book is crypto hack. So as they answer questions, they get so many right, they get a hack into another player's thing, and if they guess the password, they get all their points, so they all have it closed. Yeah, they don't want the other kids to see their password. But anyway, they do enjoy it, and I do it for different things. So that's how I do it for reading. For writing, I pick ones for my passages, which the third grade report card really helps with it because they have an example of each type of writing they have to do in third grade, and they all come from a module. And so we do those, but I also pull other ones from past modules. We're doing a test authoring narrative right now. And we use that, and, we work on scaffolding with writing because we just throw them into the deep end. It might not go too well, but it just depends on the kid. But, we work on how do we set up, like I said, the text evidence, especially with opinions and informatives, how to go back and look in the text and find it. I've even shown them on the portal when they pull up the passage, how they can highlight on the computer. So when they go take the end of year test, they can do it on that before they go write their rough draft on the notebook paper. But, we spend a lot of time looking over and we write it and do it step by step, and I have them peer edit. And, we use these tools on this test authoring and modules, and I use it a lot. And I even use it in math. Sometimes some of the questions I use in my math centers, the teacher center, because they're more rigor and it helps them. And then at the end of a topic in math, we do the one that goes with our clear math. And then
Carnegie
yeah,
series.
our Carnegie. And then I also do, depending where we're at, I'll do a module and a test authoring with that too. And it just exposes them to so many different, they're seeing it so many times, they're getting used to how to manipulate it on the computer. I think for third grade specifically, a lot of times they struggle just because they don't know how to work the tools on the computer.
Right.
And so for me, this year I've done it more than I have in the past. Like each year I've been learning more and building on it. But I don't feel as anxious about testing coming up. I mean, the month off, but overall, I'm not worried about them being able to use the test. And I feel like I've really prepared them just on the rigor that they're going to see. And my hope is they don't log in and it's not, just their third time seeing that format.
They're very comfortable.
Yes, I don't want them to be anxious or anything for those, kinds of reasons. I just feel like it really helps them, and they get challenges, the ones that needs challenge. It gives me a chance to get everyone the best I can up to, grade level and all of that. I think it's just a really great tool, and it's very easy once you learn it to pair it with your standards. It helps make sure you're teaching what you need to teach. That's all I got.
That's
That's a
fantastic.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does a really good job. These tools that they provide for us, and Mr. Alexander always talks about this when we do data meetings with principals. We know from the data and from the research that the state provides to us, the State Department of Ed, these tools are some of the best available to us. And it's not really about just thinking about the end of the year summative. The test is your standards. So as educators, we are tasked to teach our standards. That's what we do. That's what every state does. And so this provides not only a tool that is standards focused with appropriate grade level content, but it builds in the high expectations because, as Faith mentioned several times, it's such a rigorous tool and it really challenges our students and it makes a huge difference.
Right.
So
Just giving them the opportunity to work through it for the entire year before they actually have
Yeah.
to use it is a huge advantage, I
and
think.
there's so much material in there. Bev knows she's worked with it with us too.
Quite a shock last March.
She filled in on maternity leave and it was
hard. It was
It's-
fifth grade.
Mhm.
it's very
hard.
difficult.
I can
It
imagine.
really challenges our students, doesn't it? So
And there's even a science, I'm
You didn't have
working
to
on,
put
I
up
found
my grandson,
science
did you?
reviews for my kids too.
Shane?
That's great. So
Yeah,
Yes.
she was at
Shane is.
CK,
I was at CK.
Dennis, she was,
Okay,
yeah.
CK.
Our teachers are really doing a good job of using the tool. We've seen data from the state about our teacher usage and at one point, I haven't seen anything recently, but at one point our teachers were leading the state in usage, all counties,
wow.
regardless of the
Well
size.
above all
Good.
the other 54 counties
That's
and
awesome.
how we utilize the tool.
And Faith she was one of the early adopters and they have been using that in their classrooms since I'll never forget. I went to a State Department meeting. They introduced the test authoring tool to us. I came back to the district the next day, went to a classroom, and the teacher was using it in the classroom the next day. It hadn't been out for a week,
We,
and our teachers were already
Already
using
using
it.
It went live on a Wednesday, and on that day, Nikki, Steffi, and Kelly Arthur, and Rhonda O'Neill and I, and at the time we had 4 curriculum specialists, we all came together the day it went live, and we divided up the 11 schools because it's a 3 through 8 tool. And within 2 days, one of us had trained every teacher 3 through 8.
Wow.
It was a pretty big undertaking. but
Right.
we knew that it was such an important tool because we've had the modules, but the modules are prepackaged. So you can go in and search for certain standards, but when they introduced test authoring, they took all of those modules and not only broke them apart, which allowed you to pick and choose what you wanted to use, but it gave teachers, and then they added additional content. So it gives teachers the option of it's not just a whole class period or a 2-day activity. Maybe I want to choose 3 questions of a specific format that align to a specific standard, and I may want to use those as a pre-activity to introduce a standard, or maybe I want to use it as an exit ticket, as a way to formatively assess, did my students master what I taught? So it just really puts a lot of control in the hands of the teachers, but anything they use, the rigor is there and it's based on our grade level standards. So it puts those high expectations automatically in place. It's a great tool.
It's fantastic. Third grade is such a transitional year anyway
Important year.
for
Yeah.
kids. So giving them that
A
advantage.
little bit of a shock to their little systems.
Right, right.
It's different. You get surprised at what they can do though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Once you introduce it, I'm sure they just take right off. But just getting someone to use those tools and introduce them to the students, that's fantastic.
I've been surprised by how well they're doing. I tell them, people brag on you,
Right?
da-da-da.
Absolutely. I think that's great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's all it takes. Sometimes a little motivation.
Thank you, Faith. We appreciate it.
Can I get a picture?
Yes,
of her?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry, Faith. You just want to stand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
And Faith, you can sneak out if you like.
Slide on out of here.
Feel free to stay.
There it is.
Door anyway.
He's gone.
Nobody's looking.
Yeah. Right.
Every June, we go over the annual desk audit from the Department of Education that they provide for the special education department. This year, they have done a early release of data, and they have asked Ms. Conley to share that with stakeholders, including the Board of Ed. Now, these are not finalized numbers. We will go over that document, the full document, in June when it's released. And I say June, whenever they do release it, it's usually June. But Marcia wanted the opportunity to go over early numbers with us.
Yeah, and
So-
I'll make it quick because these are not certified, these are preliminary numbers. So this is what I shared with you at the beginning of the year. We kind of have an action plan, and I kind of explained to you that several of the indicators are from previous data. So what I presented at the beginning of the year was from the year from 22-23, and now we're looking at 23-24 data. So the red, these are the state targets. They increase on us every year. And then the ones on the right in the red and green are where we have performed, again, not certified data, for the 23-24 school year. So you can see, some of, if you remember, some of our action plans focusing on these areas that we're still kind of falling short on as far as graduations with students with regular diplomas, and then dropout rate for our kiddos with, these are all special ed numbers. And then these are participation rates, just taking the assessment, the alternate and the general summative. These are assessment proficiencies. And then you see this is the GSA is your general, the ASA down here is your alternate standards. I do caution you, keep in mind for alternate standards, those cell sizes are very small. So, we have kids, maybe 3 kids in that grade taking it. So those numbers kind of will be skewed very quickly if 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3. So if you go ahead and scroll down, this looks at growth. So look, comparing last year, and that's where I'm seeing some discrepancy. I'm in contact with the state with some of our numbers. Looking at growth from last year to this year. And then we go into let me see, what are we at? So LRS code, this is one of the areas that we've really focused on to try to increase our kiddos' exposure and time in the gen ed environment, being exposed to curriculum that is on grade level, just making sure that that's happening. We still are not where we would like to be on that one. Looking at separate settings, we're falling in the green in those areas. A lot of these are pre-K. We've talked about that in the past, where they are rated as they enter preschool and then they're rated as they exit. And this looks at the growth in those areas.
Too fast.
No, you're fine. Keep going. I'm trying to be quick. We looked at disproportionality is not an issue in our district at this time. Transition services, now I'm gonna brag on this one. So we did hit 100% this year, but they're changing the way they report it and putting us on, I think, a monitor cycle, so it's gonna show up even at the final. My understanding is it's gonna still show up, but they're gonna pull that when they rank us as far as our determination. So right now we're in needs assistant. My goal is, of course, to get us to meets standards, or meets the criteria. And then these are 1 year follow-ups. We have a beautiful participation rate in like after they graduate, what are you doing? How are you doing? And then we're looking at what are you actually doing? And I think a lot of this was training in the people who are doing the surveys, but what are you doing a year later? Are you doing further education? Are you employed? That sort of thing. So these are preliminary numbers. Again, I'll come back and present them once they're certified. And I have gone through and looked at growth or stagnation or decline in each number. And we'll come up with, a plan to address anything that we.
Remind us just real quick
Yeah.
what our plan was for the, what was our action plan for the parts of the,
So we
audit
had,
that
I
we-
don't have it with me, but we had several. So we looked at a lot of the transitions. So we were out of compliance and transition, and it requires 100% to meet. You get 100% or you get nothing.
right,
So we really have worked hard in trainings. We've got an early warning system. We've implemented some like job fairs. We've implemented some supports from mental health specialists, counselors in that area. And then we have met compliance. So that one of those areas of transition. There are several pieces. So the graduation rate was one, the dropout rate was one,
right.
compliance. So we have met compliance, meaning our IEPs align with what the students say they want to do. We're supporting what they want to do and trying to follow through with that.
Okay.
And then another one of our goal, our TSIP goal, which is a little bit different than the action plan I presented, was that one that I said is still falling in red, was to try to increase the number in it's called a least restrictive environment in the gen ed
Right.
primarily. So
Right.
we're still not where we would like to be in that one.
What's your, I guess, your action plan for doing that? Or why are we not still there yet? Is it a staffing issue? Is it an IEP issue? What's holding us back there?
So yeah, I think our increase, I think this year we have increased our push into co-teach environments. And so we've kind of moved it down. So it was a 3-year plan that started at the high school, went to the middle school this year, went to the elementary school. So we've trained them this year, and done some supports and done some additional supports with our ATS schools that weren't demonstrating growth in the special ed. So we have kind of moved that down so that we have more co-teach at the younger level.
Right.
So that's kind of, we're hoping to continue that and see, sufficient progress. I mean, the goal is to meet the kids' needs, whatever they are.
Sure.
But, research shows that you spend time in gen ed, experiencing gen ed standards
Absolutely.
to the greatest extent possible. So that is a push. And like I said, it's been, this is our year 3. It was kind of a 3-year plan.
Right.
So we got down to the elementary.
Is there a reason why we started at the high school and then moved down? If I'm looking at it, I would think you would want to start at the elementary, and then you wouldn't have as much in the middle school or the high school to worry about. But it seems like we went backwards.
Yeah, and I can't speak to that because that was before me, but when you look at our deficits in our littles,
Right.
a lot of times they will do a short pull out and push them back in. So they're spending more time in the gen ed, whereas when you get to the high school, you have periods, you have blocks. So I go to science, I go to ELA, I go to math. And so the ability to bring those to co-teach versus those pull out.
I got
Does
you.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So, that, to me, that would be impactful. And then try to we started, they kind of went feeder schools to we'll start at Spring Valley, we'll look at, Minson, CK, that
Right.
Tulsa.
Gotcha. And our pre-K numbers, I know there's some,
Yeah.
some concern there.
Yeah, so our pre-K, these they're tricky, and there is a couple reasons why. One, we continue staff development, but two, one of Mr. Cox's points is, when you get kiddos, particularly that have needs significant enough to qualify, and you're identifying them properly, you don't typically see the amount of growth in those kids that have pretty significant
Right.
needs.
I
So,
mean,
and that's what, would you say,
Yeah, that's what we see a lot of. So there's two areas that we see in there that you see for preschool. There's two different goals for each one of those. And sometimes we meet the second one, but it's very rare for those as well, because each one of those is broken into two parts. One of them is about the growth that we see for every child, and the second one's that they're entering and exit. What she's talking about is errors every year. I go through the college training with all of my teachers, and then I have to do an audit on every one of them to make sure that they've done the enter and exit for the child. So I have to make sure that they've actually put that in the system. So those comps in each year has to be checked and verified.
gotcha.
So it's something that has that extra step that you have to make sure that's completed. So when we're going through this process right now, we're going through the pre-K to kindergarten transitions. So once those are completed, I have to make sure that all those exits, once they've gone to kindergarten, has been completed correctly.
and done
Teachers
properly.
just don't done.
Right.
Yeah, teachers just, I think that kid's at these levels, but wait, you might need to look over this information. Let's revisit it. Let's make sure that we've got the right schools in there.
Gotcha. So it's documentation
It's
sometimes.
documentation, just teacher understanding, sometimes not checking on it, just errors, sometimes just not having conversations,
Gotcha.
training.
And what's the not applicable, what was that? Parents and receiving special education?
We were not part of the survey. It doesn't happen every year, so we weren't part of it.
I got you.
Um,
It seems like that would be something I'd want to survey every year. I mean, if you've got parents,
I think it's every 3, but I could be wrong, but I believe it's every 3 years, and we were a part of that.
and these kids that are in our pre-K, they come to us from birth to 3,
Sometimes.
and are they evaluated there as well as when they come to us?
So if they're
or-
receiving birth to 3 services, then they get like referral or referred as they are hitting that age 3,
Okay,
because then it's school age, then it's
Right.
preschool services.
Okay.
So the birth to 3 sends referrals to us to say, you need to evaluate this kiddo and see if
gotcha.
they qualify
I was
for it.
just curious if, I mean, some of these kids that we get in pre-K probably didn't have birth to 3.
Correct.
So we may be the first point of
Yes.
contact for any kind of services,
Yeah.
right?
And so if they're in a preschool, the teachers can do referrals, the parents can come in and do referrals also, outside.
Gotcha. Okay. And we created a cadre, correct? A special education cadre that we did, and that's going well. And is
Well, we
this
ha-
helpful? with that?
we haven't met for a while. We planned to meet and then snow happened. Once I get this finalized, I pulled the data for the last meeting that didn't happen from Renaissance. And we were looking at growth in our special ed versus growth in our gen ed,
Right.
but we did not.
I got
We
you.
did, yeah.
So I know our goal is to get everyone exposed to grade level standards, right?
Right.
So I'm just curious how we have a math cadre, we've got an ELA cadre. I just
Yeah.
want to make
And we
sure.
have special education
Mhm.
educators. We have representatives on those content specialized cadres
Good.
with our gen ed teachers as well.
Okay, good.
So we want that voice at the table
Right.
also when we look at the math and ELA for elementary and secondary.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
All right, I'll be back when when it's all certified.
See you in June.
All right. So all of our presentations this evening, so we can move on to good news. Anyone?
I thought I saw on Facebook where we had two or three people, was it basketball, where they were named first team?
Yeah, we had
All-state.
Right.
students from all 3 high school teams that have been named to the all-state teams, least honorable mention. And then we had some that were named first team all-state. So we're doing posts about that on our Facebook page.
Gotta love
You got
Facebook. Okay. Anybody else? All right, moving on to our informational items. We're going to reconvene our special meeting from March 11th on Tuesday, April 15th, beginning at 4 o'clock here in the board conference room. Spring break will be April 14th through the 18th. We're back here for a regular meeting on April 22nd at 6 o'clock. And then a special meeting on Tuesday, April 29th, beginning at 4. And this will be at Crum Pre-K 8. And then we will recess and reconvene at Tulsa High School at 5:15. And those are our LSIC meetings for those two schools.
I'll probably need to call in on the March 11, assuming the April 15 reconvening.
Right.
of March 11.
And I'll probably be calling in on the 22nd. Unless I
Gotcha.
get over my cataract surgery. I
Yeah.
feel like coming.
Gotcha. That's fine. All right. Moving on to our construction project updates.
Yeah, in this separate packet of information I provided you this evening, the top page of that document, page 1, is a report from our contractor, EP Leach and Sons, regarding the Wayne Elementary School additions. And I'll concentrate on the work plan for the next 2 weeks, which is this week and next week. It indicates that EP Leach is going to pour first pad for frost slab on April 2nd. Also plan on pouring housekeeping pad for transformer and electrical room. So the concrete slabs are starting to be poured. Masons plan to be done with caulking in the interior by the end of the week, by the end of this week. The electrical contractor is planning to pull wire spring break. And the mechanical contractor also decided to wait until then to do their water line tie-ins. The metal for the roof is expected to be ready on April 11th with installation to follow the next day. So we're moving along with that project.
It's really looking nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's looking pretty.
It's nice the last time I went by.
Sarita Canova, the MIP project there for the refurbishment of the basement. The design has been submitted to the West Virginia Department of Education for their approval. Buffalo Middle School design, we have a civil engineer meeting tomorrow to again look at the traffic patterns for the school. And so we are near time to submit that to the Department of Education. So hopefully we'll make some steps towards that during tomorrow's meeting. The next item is in your packet on page 2. We've talked about the work that we're going to have to do out at Spring Valley High School due to that drainage collapse out there on the soccer field. On page 2, we have an ad in the paper this week, an advertisement for bids on that project. And then I've also included the project specifications for the line installation beginning on page 3. That's just an FYI. That runs 3 through page 6.
Was that something that was done when they originally built the high school?
Yeah, when the soccer field was originally constructed, they put that drain line in underneath, and part of I don't know.
Do we have any recourse?
No, it's just age. It was a metal drain pipe, and those give way after a time. The big problem with it is it's 20 feet deep, which is unusual, but they brought in enough fill in there that it's really deep. So everything's moving along. We have the permit from the Department of Highways to install the new line. We've been in contact with FEMA. FEMA's coming down to see if they can help fund part of the project. And so that's up in the air, but we're moving along and going to get the contractor started on it soon. But with FEMA involved, we have to make sure we go through all of the proper advertising for hiring the contractor. So we're going through those steps now. That's all I have for construction projects.
All right. No delegations this evening?
No.
Superintendent reports.
We're going to start and Mike Hart, our safety manager, is here. We're going to start a school security pilot project here with Wayne High School at the end of the year, maybe run it maybe a little bit at the beginning of the next year. And I wanted Mike to talk to you a little bit about that.
Got your little handout. This is off of their website. That's a picture of what the app looks like.
Thank you.
So over the years, we look at several different products, devices, and apps to see, what we can utilize and what's best for our school system and what's really just fluff and not really going to help us. There's a lot of products out there, and you go to conferences and you look at all these things, and sometimes it's just a panic button. Well, it's just a panic button. It doesn't really do much for you. Or it just utilizes cameras or certain devices like that, or apps that just notify people of an alert. The great thing about this app, and I really like it, is it does three things. You can choose, you see the buttons at the top there, the circles. You can, it's an unidentified person in your school. The next one's a medical emergency. The next one's a fire, weather, and the little gun there is active shooter. So what you do, all the staff will have this downloaded on their cell phones and desktops if they choose to, laptops. So they have the ability, if they happen to see, let's say it's an active shooter in the building, they happen to see somebody in the cafeteria that's got a gun, they can hit that little button with the gun on it, and what comes up is that map that you see there, and all of our schools will be, brought up, whatever school we're at, and the floor plan's laid over top of that, just like you see there. And you can designate where that person is. Let's say he's in the cafeteria. And you click, you can zoom in on it and click in that exact room. And that way it tells everybody, every staff member immediately gets this on their phone. It comes up and a big loud noise that activates. Whether you got your phone on silent or not, it overrides it. So they'll get the message. And it shows them exactly where that intruder is. So that's like any other app I've seen. The good thing about that is if you're at the other end of that building, you can evacuate. That's what we tell people to do. Run. First thing you do, get out of the building if you can.
That notify the resource officer too?
Yes, it'll be on his, and it notifies 911. I've already talked to the 911 center. They're going to have this exact app on their desktop. So they will get the same notification that we get. That way, when they roll up to the school, they know exactly where this person is. Now, let's say this guy moves around. By the time they get there, he's now in the gym. Well, somebody else saw him, and they can update it. Boom, drop that little pin where it's at, and they'll know that now he's in the gym. So they know where to go. So I think that's a wonderful app. It does all three of those things. It notifies your staff, notifies 911, and it shows you where the incident is. And it tells the staff what it is. A lot of times we go lockdown, we don't know what, staff doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
But this tells you exactly what's going on. So.
And it's desktop friendly, so if they don't have a cell phone, we still have
Absolutely. iPad,
whatever.
laptop, desktop, yeah. So,
Is that
it's for
something that we can
emergencies.
put on our tablets that we issue to the kids? If they don't, I mean, there's legislation that's trying to stop cell phones from being in the schools at all,
Well,
so
these don't go to the kids. The students will not receive this.
none at all.
Because they will, I
Oh,
can
they'd
see
go
that
crazy,
happening.
wouldn't they?
It's only
I'll do that.
Good idea.
staff only.
And another thing it does is,
Senior prank day.
yeah. If you click on the chat part, you can chat with your staff. I'm missing so-and-so. He went to the bathroom. We don't know where he is. You can count for your students immediately. I have 19 out of 20. You chat with the administration. So the admin people know. You don't want chatter between the teachers because that could go back and forth.
I got you.
I don't know where, you don't want to get into all that. But it is an accountability of all your students. And if you do have somebody missing, you can chat right to the admin and they know who's missing immediately.
Well, 911, we got cameras in all the schools now, right?
Yes,
Hallways
sir.
and stuff.
Yes, sir.
Will this be able to augment with 911 so they can see?
Well, they have access to our
advise.
cameras and they will have access to this.
Okay,
We'll
so
know.
it'll work
And
together.
they can pull a camera up in that area. So they'll have that access.
That's a great idea.
Is there a
Yeah.
price attached to this or?
Well, I'll let Mr. Alexander.
Oh,
talk about pricing.
For the-
Silly question,
Right.
Missy.
No, the company agreed to allow us to run a pilot at no charge.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now, obviously, if we sign up for the services, there is a price associated with that.
But it's,
For the entire district, and, prices change, but for the entire district, you're looking at under $100,000 for the entire district.
per year.
For a
Yeah.
year.
It's an annual fee. But we're going to run a pilot and see, what kind of advantages it provides us. The big advantage that it provides you is it automatically gives all of your staff the ability to notify the rest of the school immediately when there's an event going on.
All those little green dots you see on that school map
Yeah.
are teachers or staff. And they can check that button at the top that says, I'm okay, like everybody is accounted for, and we got everybody, and we're good. And, or you can say, I need help, like somebody's shot or the person's nearby. So the police see that too, so they know who needs help. I'm gonna go towards the green area. So it's also got a reunification part to this, where you're gonna reunite with your parent or guardian. So whenever we get into a safe area, there's a part there where you type in the student's name. If a parent comes up, they give you the name, you type in, you hit search, and it'll come up with 4 different choices. This child is still waiting, this child's already been picked up, forget what the other 2 were. But the good thing about it is, if it comes up, says child already picked up, and you're a guardian, you don't know if somebody's husband's picked them up, wife. So when they pick the child up, they take a picture with the guardian, whoever picked him up, and it saves it in the database. So as documentation, so when they come and say, hey, I didn't pick him up, where'd he go? So they can show that documentation, the picture right there comes up as soon as they search that child's name. So it's a good reunification part too.
Price point wise, it's very, very competitive with similar type applications.
Yeah, a lot of those don't have the map.
Well, I was gonna say,
The
this
map
seems
is
like it
the-
has
is
so
the
much.
key. Yeah, being able to visually see where that
Yeah.
event is actually happening. So,
But we're going to run a no-cost trial just to,
Sure.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
It's a
Sounds
worthwhile
good.
thing.
thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to mention on page 7 of your separate attachments, our calendar has been approved by the State Department.
Yeah.
So this is the calendar that will be in effect next year. We'll start sending out communications to our parents and to our faculty that the calendar has been approved, so it's official now.
Fantastic.
And then I had received a FOIA request. That's on page 8. That's just an FYI.
Okay.
Anytime we get a FOIA request, I'll let you know that. So page 8 is the latest one that we've received.
Okay.
And then, of course, we had on Friday, we had to close the district due to the heavy rains and flooding that had fallen, and the mudslides were occurring across the district. So we closed down on Friday, and of course, that's going to add another day to our calendar.
Yeah.
So our students' last day is now going to be June the 9th, and our employees' last day is going to be June the 10th. And so we're still utilizing those out-of-school environment days that are made to make up for the weather. And so that'll push the kids' last day back to a Monday and the teachers' last day back to a Tuesday. And again, we'll be sending out announcements about that as well.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of them at school on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
Radix all could be at the beach. All right, anything else?
That's it.
All right,
All right.
no board directors or board reports? None? And no unfinished business? Move on to our new business consent action items. Superintendent recommends approval of the following action items. Additional items received prior to the time of the meeting may be added. Discussion and or separate action of items may be requested by members of the board and or the superintendent. Items are subject to change. Any blanks will be filled in prior to the meeting. In the event a nominee withdraws, we reserve the right to put in the next candidate for that position. Number 1 is consider for approval the recommended personnel matters, pages 1 through 10.
And in your separate packet that I provided this evening, beginning on page 9 of the separate packet, is the revised version with a few corrections in it.
Okay.
If we want to go through that, we've got quite an agenda here. So let me just walk you through the agenda, because we have our reduction in force and transfers for the year on here.
All right.
So, and again, I'm looking at the separate these separate attachment items, page 9. I'm looking at the revised personnel matters. On that page 9, you see a list of terminations that's due to the reduction in force for the 25-26 school year. There's 26 names listed there. Now, it's important to note that these positions aren't necessarily being eliminated. These people might have been bumped out of their position by a more senior employee. So these are the folks who would get a RIF letter, and there were 26 names on that list. And again, these folks are positions aren't necessarily being eliminated. I think there's about 6 or 7 positions on here that are actually being eliminated, but they're being displaced due to more senior employees taking their positions.
So they'll have a chance to bid somewhere else.
Correct. And again, as I've explained before, we've had to go through some heavy reductions in the past 8 years, and we have not had anybody that hasn't been able to get back to a full-time position the next year. We did have a couple service positions that it was October when they got back on full-time. Professional-wise, we've been able to get everybody that wanted to return a position by the beginning of the next year. So we'll be working to do that again this year. On page 10, these are actually the positions that are going away. So there's 35 positions on this list. This is the same information that was provided to you in the chart in the earlier board meeting regarding the positions that we're actually going to abolish. And then at the bottom of the list, you see the create positions. There are 7 positions there that are being created, either because positions are being consolidated or there's an enrollment shift. And so if you take that 35 abolished positions, you subtract the 7 that we're creating, that's a reduction of 28 professional positions overall.
Gotcha.
Page 11. Our employment items are all related to summer school.
Yeah.
So there's really nothing there to do with RIF or transfer. That is all summer school action. And that continues on to page 12 as well. There's also the hiring of a substitute teacher at the bottom of page 12. On page 13, we go to the countywide transfers. So these positions line up with the positions that are being eliminated. These are more senior employees that were transferred to other positions. You see that there's a list of 17 people on the countywide transfer list. Now, obviously, we eliminated more positions than that. Some of those positions had people that were retiring in them, or they were positions that had a substitute in them that hadn't been filled yet. So that's why those numbers don't match. And then you have below that the realignments. Personnel law allows, if you're in an elementary school, and this is only true for elementary schools, if you're in an elementary school and you are not the least senior in your certification areas, you can be realigned and moved within your building. And then the other person, the less senior person, would be the one that moved out. So there's 3 realignments there on the list. Okay, at the bottom of page 13 is just our typical request for leaves of absence dealing with FMLA and medical leaves. There's one correction there that's on that page. We had an employee that was going to be off until May 1st. That's been changed to April 11th. And then they're going to be intermittent from April 12th until the conclusion of the year. Okay, on page 14, We have our second item. There's a resignation there. Rebecca Mathis, 8-hour cafeteria manager cook at Spring Valley High. We have two Rebecca Mathises, so in your revision, they made it clear that that's Rebecca D. Mathis. And then at the bottom of page 14, we start the reduction in force for the service personnel. And you'll see that there's 6.5 positions that are listed there. And then there's an additional position there listed at the bottom of the page. That is, so that takes the number to 7.5. On page 15, you see the actual positions that are being abolished. And again, this lines up with the chart that you were provided earlier. And this is 16.5 positions that are being reduced. And then you have your create positions below that. These are 2 positions that we know that are going to be created for next year. Now, I want to emphasize that the 3rd grade ECATs would be on this list, except the legislature is considering some shifts in that law that gives counties flexibility on possibly hiring interventionists. So I don't want to create those positions until the legislative session's over and we know exactly what that law is and what we're dealing with, so we can make an intelligent decision at that time.
Right.
So when I talked to you about this earlier, when we looked at the chart, I told you that we were cutting 16.5 positions from the service side, but we were looking at adding 16.5 positions.
Right.
It was pretty much a wash. That's why you don't see those under the create positions tonight.
Gotcha.
We're just going to hold on to create.
Okay.
Okay, going to page 16, you have employments. Again, this is all summer school related. Flipping over to page 17, we're going to pull a couple of these bus operator positions. There's been some changes at the grievance board with how these positions are selected. We're reviewing that to see how it impacts our process. So we'll bring these back to you at some point. We just want to make sure that we're recommending the right names based upon how the law is currently being applied for these summer school
That's
positions.
the Timmy Thompson. and Casey
Timmy
Cyrus.
Thompson and Casey Cyrus, we're going to pull those for now, but I'll bring those back to you at another time.
Okay.
At the bottom of the page, page 17 begins the countywide transfer list. It continues on to page 18. You'll see that there's 8.5 names there. And again, those are people whose positions are being eliminated, but they have more seniority, so they're moving to another location, another position. And then the transfers that are listed on page 18, those are normal transfers that are occurring due to postings. There's a correction there. The bus was originally listed as 1279. It's 1297 is the bus.
Autism. Dyslexia. 79 to 97.
And then at the bottom of the page, the request for leaves of absence, that completes the personnel matters. And again, with the abolished positions that are being recommended, the reason that we're doing that is because of the number of positions that were out of formula. In your separate attachments, I've included, beginning on page 19, the staffing pages that were provided to us by the State Department of Education. You've seen this plenty of times. We've looked at this several times. But looking at page 20, the number there on the far right, if you go down to Wayne County, all 55 counties are listed here. We are projected to be, and again, this is a projection based upon our enrollment loss this year. We're projected to be, with the current number of positions that we have, we're projected to be 50 over formula on the professional side. Page 21. And that's professional instructional side, 50 over formula. On page 21 is the service side. When you look at Wayne County, you go to the far right. you'll see that that number is at 73.55, 73.5 over. And then skipping back a couple pages on page 24. This is our professional student, our student support personnel. So this is our counselors, this is our social workers, those positions. Our nurses are included in there. We're 5.71 over formula for those positions. And then the very last page, page 25, is a summary of those positions, the professional student support personnel added in with the professional educators to give us a total overage number of approximately 50.88 on the professional side. And we had shared earlier at a board meeting about the financial data for the district. So the problem is those numbers out of formula as we lose enrollment, even though the number of positions aren't growing, we have to pay more and more out of local funds for the positions. And it just becomes to a point where the amount of money is too much. And we had looked at the last projection, and I know Jeb's in the room, the last projection had us projected to be up at 9 million. That was coming out of local funds to pay for those positions that are out of formula. So we have to reduce those numbers. Last year, we took the first step in doing that. I know I noticed in the newspaper article, I think it was 45 positions that were cut last year from the professional side. Now, some of those were COVID funded positions, so it didn't help our numbers over formula for the general fund. But we had cut about 45 last year. This year, we're looking at cutting about 28. I believe that if we go forward with the recommendations that you have in front of you this evening, that's going to put us in a pretty good place, depending on how those enrollment numbers turn out next year as we start next year. Another factor we have to consider too is that the price of PEIA is increasing, and that includes for the employer. And Jeb, Jeb's back there in the second row. Jeb, they had told us that price was going up approximately 14% for each employee.
And
Employer share. And so as for every position that's out of formula, we absorb 100% of that raise. And so that's why it's necessary. This is always a different time of year, but that's why it's necessary to reduce the positions. And again, we've been very successful in getting these people back and into spots by the beginning of the next year. And I don't see why this year would be any different. So that's the recommendation.
I'd like to, are we ready to go? I'd like to pull the termination of the coordinator preschool for a separate vote. Can we do that?
Yeah, we can pull that separately.
Does it need a second? I'll do it.
Separately. No,
Johnita made the motion.
Yeah.
Dennis, did you have the second?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
uh,
Any opposed? Okay, so we'll pull that one for separate consideration.
Yeah.
Let's go back and do the bulk of it first then. So personnel matters minus the pre-K position.
I need to recuse myself because my family's on the list.
Okay.
If we can do the separate one first,
Okay.
because it might have an impact
Okay.
on the overall list if there's a change there.
Okay.
Gotcha.
We'll
Okay.
do that.
Cool.
All right. So we'll do the pooled separate consideration first. So what's the motion, Johnita? Did you pull?
The termination of contract, Jason Cox, coordinator, preschool special needs.
Are you rescinding that? Is that the motion that we're putting forward?
Yes, that's the motion I want to make to rescind it.
The motion is to rescind that termination.
Yes.
I think the motion would be just to reject it,
Reject.
reject the
Okay, that
recommendation.
sounds good. That sounds
Okay.
better.
Does it need a second? I'll do it.
Motion by Jonita, second. Dennis? Any questions or concerns on that particular item?
So again, just to make it clear, if you vote yes, then you're voting to reject the recommendation
Yes,
For the one position.
for the one
that
position.
one position, yes.
Discussion?
I do have a question. I'm not sure if it is specific to this or not, but I do have a question that how many positions are being held at the central office that could or are counted against us in the school state aid formula? Because I have an issue personally and district-wide and our students, to be honest with you, that I know that there are some really good teachers that are on this RIF list that I hate to see them lose their job. And I feel like that without a sacrifice in the central office, then we're not doing justice to our students and our schools.
I can agree with you to a certain point on that. I feel like personally, we've got to look out for our youngest learners as well.
Oh, I'm not saying that. That's not the point at all.
I got nothing personal. Either.
No.
I mean, we're just talking about positions, not people, and I get
Right.
it.
Yeah.
I'm just my opinion is that we need to make sure that we're cutting where we need to first, even though I agree that we've got, certain positions that we could do away with, but I just don't think that this particular one is one that we need to do away with at this point.
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think it would be detrimental to the kids if we get rid of, if we have to get rid of this position, then we have to go and hire in people that don't really know
Right. Aren't familiar.
the county, if they have to have training and all that. We're not going to save any money. We're going to still be spending pretty much the same amount. And so, I mean, that's my opinion. I figure like this position.
When Missy and I first came into office, that was a goal of the board at the time. And some positions were changed, reduced, and eliminated as best we could. But then we found out that there's situations where you can't really do it for the good of the county and the kids. So there you are, you know what I mean? And that's what you're getting at, isn't it?
I think so. I think it's just something that I understand that we want to, reduce the amount of that we have over top.
Every chance we get, though, we should do it, though, because
I think the point that I wanted to make is I think every one of us and I was the one that made the request for the salaries for the central office. It was sent out to everyone. I made that request last week. And I saw those numbers, and I'm just going to be honest with you. Those numbers compared to what our staff, our service personnel, and what our teachers make are completely out of kilter. And the median salary or median income in Wayne County, and I've done some research, is around $37,000. I have a real problem, just to be honest, with some of those salaries that we are seeing in the central office. And then we're talking about laying off custodians and cooks and teachers that are making half of that.
Understand?
I understand completely.
I understand, but the
I was
counter
service
is,
person.
I will tell you, central offices, like everything else, they don't run on autopilot.
Right.
You gotta have, I'm astounded every day how daggone complicated this world is. It drives me crazy. Sometimes, I want to use that old Shakespeare quote, let's kill all the lawyers, blame part of it. But that office is not going to run by itself.
I understand that, but I also understand too that our enrollment is dropping.
Yes.
Our enrollment is dropping every year. And we're maintaining the level of directors, coordinators, but we're getting rid of the people that are in constant contact with our students, whether they be the teachers or the ones that's serving them lunch. I just, that's just my 2 cents. And I'm here to represent the people that put me here. And
ideally, that's what we want to do. But then it comes down to, you have to have people in a position where there's a certain amount of competency, and you have to do it when you can.
I understand
That's
that.
my opinion.
I do
I'm
understand.
very open to I'm open to reducing force anywhere we can, people that
When we can. Right.
are not necessary,
Me
but
too.
and gosh, it's one of the worst things about this job. You don't want to particularly let go of anybody.
Right.
No,
But it's easy to say, yeah, let's cut it all. Hey, you talked to me 10 years ago, I'd have probably been saying that too. I didn't,
Exactly.
but I'm very open. Hey, this is something we can do without is fine. I'm open to hear that. I just haven't been persuaded of that yet. Until I am, I'm not just going to, let's get rid of some.
Agreed. Anyone else? All right, so the motion was to reject the termination of the pre-K coordinator position. And the motion was made by Johnita and second by Dennis.
And again, a vote of yes means you're rejecting the elimination of the position
So
of
the
the of the
position,
contract. And then a vote of no would be that you're voting to eliminate the contract.
so everyone clear?
no,
This-
I'm not.
This,
Okay, if you're voting,
The motion was to reject the recommendation.
So wouldn't that be,
So if you vote yes, that means
You
you're
want to
saying,
vote.
yes, I want to reject it.
keeping it.
oh, okay, then I know now.
Okay,
and this is for this single position.
single position.
Single positions.
All right. Any other questions, concerns? Everyone clear? All right. All in favor to reject the motion or to reject the position's termination?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Yes. If
Yeah,
you
you're
want
right.
to
Right.
keep it, you're right.
I want to keep it.
You're fine.
Then you voted correct.
Just I guess, okay.
So
Any opposed?
We're okay.
Any opposed?
there was none opposed. So
No opposed.
Okay.
So we are 5-0 to keep the pre-K position.
I would hate to say no after all that.
Right.
okay, now that's going to create a change in our list.
Okay, go back.
So you give me a minute to.
First page there.
I have another question. Can I ask another question?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, because yeah, we still got the whole other.
I'll say I'm the new guy, so I've got a question.
I'm gonna use that mouth.
Forever. But my question is it possible that there can be are we past the time where we cannot save any of these other jobs?
Do you mean cut any of these other jobs?
Rescind cuts on the ones that the recommendations that you've made? Can we Can we pull individual out? Do we have to do it as one? I mean, we just pull an individual one out. Can I'm hypothetically,
you're saying.
can I make a motion to
Pull another one. out, yeah.
reject them all?
Yeah, you could make a motion to reject them all. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make that motion to reject all the,
Well, let's
me
straighten out
finish
the
this
list first. So on the very first page, which is page 9, under the termination list, the third name down, Kayla Brody, 3rd grade at Fort Gay pre-K through 8. Correct, Chanda? Okay. She can be removed from the list.
Hold on. What page?
First page there.
Oh, 9.
Yeah.
Who?
Page 9,
Kayla
Kayla Brody,
Okay. Mark.
3rd grade
mark
at
to her.
Fort Gay. Yes.
Got it.
That was the position that Mr. Cox would have assumed
Okay.
if it went through.
Okay, gotcha.
so she will stay in that position?
She will stay in that position.
Okay.
And then on page (13), there's an item here for a transfer approval, the 4th one down,
Mark
with
to
the
her.
transfer to and from coordinator or preschool special needs to unassigned, so that I'm going to pull that now.
Okay.
So I'm pulling both of those items.
Okay.
Okay. So we've got a revised personnel matters.
Okay. So I need a motion for the revised personnel matters.
I make a motion to approve
Revised,
these are just the revised, not the whole stuff, right?
Right,
Not all
just
of them.
the revised.
I'll second.
Motion by
I
Johnita,
got
second by
somewhere I
Randy.
can write it down.
So to Mark's
Mark.
point, Mark, if you're not wanting to approve the rest of the list, you just vote no on the rest of the list.
Personnel.
I made a motion.
Johnny,
What?
You made the motion.
I made a second.
I thought you did.
You did.
You were going to ask.
no.
I thought you
He
were
asked
holding
who
for
made
me.
the motion.
I thought you were holding for me. Sorry. Okay, I made the motion.
To approve the rest of the personnel matters.
You know,
Right.
on a personal note,
Dennis second.
I kind of agree with Mark this time of year because I came out of the school system. But the same token, in the position we're in, we have a fiduciary
Responsibility.
responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's forced me to do things I don't want to do.
Yeah, and then nobody wants to eliminate
No.
any of the positions, but
And I do understand that.
Yep.
I really do. And I think, I've been on here since July, and I think most of you know that every time when we go over expenditures, I'm the one that's got a million questions, and I got a million more after a while when we get there. But I'm just thinking about, like Dennis said, I've been there. I've seen things happen. And I may not have the highest degree in the room. I said that last week. But I'm going to do everything that I possibly can to save those positions, that the people that I know every day are down there or over there or up there working with our kids. I feel like with everything in me, they're more important than office positions.
One good thing is we'd have to keep in mind is that, like we said last year, everyone that wanted a position ended up back
Yeah.
in a
Yeah,
position.
they
So
I appreciate your positions because it keeps us all on our toes. Make sure we're doing the right thing for everybody,
Sure.
especially the children.
all right. Any other questions or concerns on our personnel matters? This is the revised.
Revised.
revised with the two items I pulled off of the list.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Last chance. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No,
4-1.
Motion carries 4-1.
And now I'm gonna recuse myself.
All right.
Will you do the rest of it, okay?
Which one?
Betty Kay.
For,
So you have to make a motion to pull it separately.
yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Tell me what I'm
You
doing.
talking about the coordinator thing?
No.
Is this another personnel matter?
Yeah, it's in the service personnel side.
Is she a director with it?
Last page.
Yeah.
Betty Atkins.
All right. So now we're pulling Betty Atkins.
Recuse. Okay, we're gonna vote on the rest of them before.
We already did. We just did.
I just did.
Yes. So now you can refute yourself and we'll pull this one.
I'm not home. I'm just gonna take my coat and just go around.
All
Give
right.
us a copy while you're at it.
So we have pulled the Betty Atkins, secretary at Wayne Elementary. And Johnita has recused herself from this vote. So I need a motion.
question, just to make sure we're clear, okay? That person is married to my first cousin. Do I need to, or am I clear
No,
about
you're good.
You're good.
rolling?
That's enough.
Yep.
It's immediate family, like mother-in-law, father-in-law.
I thought so, but I just wanted a
Yeah, you're good.
decision from the chair.
All right. So
We're accused of everybody that's related to
Right.
Atkins in
We
some
don't-
way.
we'd all be
We got four families in Wayne County, we're all kin to each other.
all right.
Want
So
to make
this,
sure.
this is a motion to approve the transfer of Betty Atkins. So I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Mark,
Second,
second by Dennis. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 on that particular personnel matter. Okay. Let me find Johnita, make sure she hasn't gone home. Thought maybe you left the building. Okay. Motion by Mark, second by Dennis, and it was 4-1, or 4-0, sorry. Okay, moving on to number 2, consider for approval the voucher payments for March 2025 on pages 11 through 20. Motion,
Motion.
motion by Randy, second,
Second.
Johnita. Any questions or concerns on those voucher payments, 11 through 20?
Anytime.
And I think we've got, Jeff, do we have some documentation on some of those?
Do what?
You want to bring it up? We brought documentation on some of them, some of the generic ones that are larger amounts that are questioned. So Jeb will bring that up.
The highlighted ones are the ones that we pulled, basically Amazon and Walmart.
Okay.
Some of the other ones through this list, I went through that I didn't quite know what they were off the top of my head, so I just made notes on there. Those are my notes of what the expenditures were for.
Okay, so no need for me to ask questions here. You think they're there? Can I, if I ask the ones that I'm questioning, can you
Recall?
I'll do my best.
recall?
But really, they're already paid, right?
These are. Go
I
ahead.
just,
Go
I'm
ahead.
just,
Yeah, go ahead.
just curious. I
Go
mean,
ahead.
it's like every month
Me too.
with,
Go
with
ahead.
me.
Okay.
On the first page, not quite halfway down the page, MHS. I just don't know what that is.
That is that was an expenditure from special ed department, Marshall County. I put the PO on that, with all the detail it said. It's mental health service is what it is.
Okay. Same page. Skip a few. Sid Harvey Industries.
Which one, I'm sorry?
It's
Sid
Sid.
Harvey Industries, $426.
That one I didn't look at.
Okay.
We can pull it for you.
Okay.
That was, I can tell the P card payment as far as the detail of the expenditure.
Oh, P cards.
What else you got?
I hate those.
I know.
Okay, page 13. 2 unfamiliar names about halfway down the page. Richard Franick and Sarah Jones, 2001-28 and 2001-50.
The Richard Frank, that is our utility audit. Came in and did an audit of all of our utilities.
Okay.
That was a contract, Mr. Alexander came in and gets half of the savings for, I think it's the first year.
We did a full utility audit. It's with a Frank Utility audit. So they audited all of our utilities. And then if they found errors in billing that we were being charged, anything that they found, maybe we were paying for meters that weren't being used anymore, that type of thing, then we had a contract with them that they would receive half of the savings that they found for a 2-year period. So that was board approved.
Yeah, and we should be about finished with him too.
And the Sarah Jones right underneath.
Sarah Jones, do you recognize that name?
She's our parent resource center coordinator.
No, she works with me. Yeah, she's not a person. She travels all over the county. She provides special education services. She's the go-between between parents, educators. So if if a question arises between a parent who needs outside resources, she's paid through the IDA grant. So parents can call in for outside resources with her through my office and through special ed office.
So this would be like a
Could be-
services rendered?
Yeah, like if a parent calls in.
Is she contracted?
She's grant,
She's contracted
She's
through a grant.
Contract.
grant, the IDE pays for it.
And over on page 5, down next to the bottom, and I know who it's for, but there's something I did want to bring to your attention. Mason and Barry down next to the bottom, I noticed 2 on there, and I wanted to let you know that the parts that were taken off of that new unit at Wayne High School have not been returned.
Okay.
Page 16. Not quite halfway down the page, Coalfield Development Corporation, $4,980. What would that expenditure? I'm sorry? I didn't, I'm sorry, Jeb. Local honey?
By the way, while he's doing it,
I'm sorry?
Kids love that honey too.
Just didn't know what it was.
by the way,
Local honey
Mark,
for
while you're
kids.
going through it right under, I know several different places we had expenditures on the food service equipment. You know what those were for?
Yeah, they service any items that break down in the kitchens. Kathy can probably speak to it better. So you'll have oven repairs, refrigerator repairs, that type of thing.
Dishwasher.
Did anybody else have any before I go to my next page?
Okay.
Page 18, a little over halfway down the page. Mothman and Son.
That's a solar. That's solar company.
I saw that too, because there was another page.
What?
Did you see it?
What? No, I didn't. I just seen it. What?
That's the contract with Solar Holler where they're providing electricity for the schools. So it's a utility payment.
I thought that contract, Wayne County Schools didn't have to pay anything for the solar.
We didn't have to pay to put the panels on. They are providing electricity for us at a guaranteed reduced rate from the power company. So that's how they make their money, is that we pay utilities for that contract.
Instead of paying AEP, we're paying the solar.
Yeah.
Or part of it goes to the solar.
Because they're on page 3 too, Mark, with the same amount.
Okay.
So we paid Mothman. That still makes me laugh, but
No, me too.
rather than
Shades of
AT,
Mason
now-
County.
Yeah, they have a collection that they make in electricity that they provide to our buildings. So it lowers our utility rates at the buildings. And then what they do is they summarize how much they're going to collect over a year's period. And then they break that down into monthly payments.
Okay.
So that's what you're seeing there.
Yep.
And so what we've got to do as we move forward is track our payments to APCO to make sure that they're reducing in the amount that we're paying out for that solar electricity.
Because these payments are both in 1 month. But one could have been,
Yeah, there's
Multiple
multiple
school.
sites. You'll
Yeah.
see those popping up
yeah.
as sites come
Yeah, we
online.
have two completed already. Or
Yeah.
CK's completed.
CK and
Crumbs.
Crumb.
Ready?
Ready.
Page 19. Couple there, but the one I just didn't recognize the name. A little more than halfway down the page, Mary M. Lewis, $2,300.
She's one of our speech paths.
I'm sorry.
Speech path, I think.
Is it?
Is it?
Beach path.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Then Edwards Educational Services. How long is that contract and how long are we going to be contracted with them? I know they've been here since my days. Which,
Yeah, the only contract that they have running with us now is at Fort Gay. And that's paid for out of title funds, correct?
When will that be up?
It's
And it's up at the end of the year. It's
Yeah.
got to be renewed every year.
So in July? Okay.
That's been, Fort Gay has been choosing to use them though. It's not a mandatory thing though.
Okay.
They've been
They don't.
requesting to use
Yeah,
them.
good.
It's
Good to know.
a school decision.
Good to know. And then on the last page, last one, 2J Supply. I don't remember seeing them anywhere.
Me either.
They do HVAC supplies.
That's fine.
Any others? All right. So those are the voucher payments for March 2025, 11 through 20. Randy made the motion, Johnita made the second. No further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 3, consider for approval purchase requisition order and quotes in excess of $5,000, pages 21 through 24.
Motion.
Motion by Randy,
I'll
second
second it.
Dennis.
I would like,
Questions?
I would like to pull for separate consideration, the West Virginia School Board Association.
It's page 22.
The membership? is-
Yes, membership for the West Virginia School Board Association. I'd like to pull it for separate consideration.
Okay. All right. Any questions
that-
on,
That leaves 21, 23, and 24. Up first, I guess.
Yeah. right? Any questions on those requisitions?
21, 23, and 24.
None? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. The separate consideration for the West Virginia School Board Association membership in the amount of $6,943. Need a motion?
Like,
Motion. Dennis, second.
Second.
Johnita. Questions or concerns?
Yes. What benefits does the membership do for the Wayne County Board of Education and students and our staff being affiliated with this organization?
I think the biggest plus is that it gives us a voice in Charleston. It gives us a collective voice.
And I'm glad that you said that. To be honest with you, have you looked at any of the bills that they are either sponsoring or in favor of or against?
Yeah, I've looked at a lot of them.
Have you? I don't think personally there was Senate Bill 154. I won't go into all the details. I don't think that Senate Bill 154 actually represents the feelings of the people in Wayne County.
what's it about?
It is the Senate Bill 154 is requiring school service personnel or school service teachers, whatever, to report when a student wishes to change a pronoun, seek gender care, and those types of things.
I
It
haven't
just,
seen that bill on anything that they've sent to us as far as what we.
It was in the last-
Organization supports.
it was an item of concern. And I was there 2 years and I seen their lobbying efforts and stuff that they supported. You know, it's okay. I mean, I'm just voicing my opinion of this. And it's not required by the state law that we are members of that. And I just personally feel that that's $7,000 that we could spend in our classrooms. And
I
that's,
kind of differ with that.
That's
because we get training, it keeps us doing what we're supposed to be doing according to the law.
And the training is actually state law that's mandated by the legislature, and that training has to be provided by the state school board.
Well,
The state school board of education has
I
to
just
provide
think
that training.
It provides a service. It's something that we get legal representation, and if you want to try to get the school board to take up that mantle, that's fine with me. But until then, I'm for school board association.
That's fine. It's just that we can differ
I
and
just want to do things right, take care of the kids, make sure I don't violate any laws, don't violate any ethics. or
That's right,
anything like that. And they tell you to stay in your lane, and we try to do that.
we just see it differently, and that's okay. Like I said, we have legal counsel. We paid for a bunch more legal counsel tonight, and we have all kinds of legal counsel. And I don't think that being a member of a association necessarily, and this is just my personal opinion, and I'm fine if y'all feel differently. I mean, it's, we're all members of this board, and that's where I'm at, and I will be a no vote.
Understood.
Couple of questions. One, the WVSBA, that's what we have been getting during this current legislative session, correct?
Right.
I will tell you that some of that information I found very useful, particularly with regard, and I can almost, I won't do I'm not going to try to do the number because I could probably by memory, but there was a bill pending in the House of Delegates, basically a so-called pilot, where they would forcibly start combining counties.
Yeah.
And
Right.
not that I have many people checking anything I post on Facebook, because I rarely post anything on Facebook, but that got enough. It's like, this is crazy.
Kind of scary.
And yeah, and I think it looked to me like the ultimate thing down the road was a combination of several counties.
Right.
And to me, it's worth it to Wayne County to know to do whatever to keep that from happening.
Sure.
And I'll just say this, my 2 cents. I agree with Dennis in terms of the law and the regulations. Again, I'll raise my hand to say a decade ago, I was totally ignorant of school law and how daggone complicated it is.
Right.
And I got a law degree, and I didn't know any of that. And I still don't know nearly enough. But this job scares me the way it is. I'd be terrified to do it without some legal guidance.
Sure.
So
Agreed. It is scary enough, but that's fine. We can have different opinions and
Sure.
move on. So we will vote for this particular requisition.
Page 22, School Board Association.
Motion by Dennis, second by Johnita. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Okay, new business, separate action items. Number 1, consider for approval the treasurer report for March 2025 on page 25.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Johnita, second, Mark. Questions or concerns on the treasurer report? Anything you need to add?
Jeb, anything you need to add?
All right. No questions? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 2, consider for approval the budget supplement and transfers for March 2025 on pages 26 through 35.
So moved.
Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Johnita. Questions, concerns, discussion? No one? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Get my pages here. Number 3, consider for approval the annual memorandum of agreement between Wayne County Board of Education and WVU Extension and the Wayne County Extension Office for the county extension work at an annual cost of $50,769 for the year 2025 through 2026.
Make a motion.
Motion by Dennis, second. Juanita?
Second.
This is funded through the county's excess levy, and it's one of the items that's identified on the excess levy for funding.
Any questions, concerns,
It's really raised through the years too.
discussion?
The amount is,
Because of the sa- yeah.
yeah, it did not raise from last year. The amount is the same as last year.
Our school system committed to agricultural and CTE. It all goes together.
Right.
Because kids need to grow up knowing how to be self-sufficient and be able to feed themselves, don't you think?
They're hatching chickens too. I like that idea.
And you like them chicken clubs too?
They're hatching chickens. I saw. Yeah. Lisa's actually doing.
Lisa does a lot of activities with our younger kids.
That's
too.
what I was talking about. They're doing a
Yeah.
incubator thing with the kids.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 4, consider for approval the agreement with Power School for license and subscription fees for Smart Find Express eSchool at an annual cost of $16,769.03 for July 1st through June 30th, 2026.
It's a substitute management calling system.
Motion?
Substitute calling system.
Okay.
How employees report absences and it calls out substitutes, that type of thing.
I was wondering what it's for.
Motion? Anyone?
I'll make it,
Dennis?
even though I was confused when I used it.
It's not user friendly. Is that what you're saying, or?
But now it doesn't do professional because principals can call their own. Okay.
Well, it calls out, but yeah, they don't have to use it to
That's
call
what I
out.
meant. They don't.
Yeah, an employee can
And
mark it
bunch of
as,
numbers and everything, and I forget numbers.
More for service.
You mark.
Got them wrote down.
Second?
Second.
Do I have a second, Johnita?
Yeah.
Any other questions or concerns? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 5, consideration and possible action on submitted written proposals for the Westmoreland property, the former Westmoreland Middle School.
and the written proposals have been provided to you. There's one of them that was in the separate items that I gave to you this evening.
Gotcha. All right. I believe we can, we may need to do part of this in executive session, just because we're dealing with
Yeah, I think we
some
can. Can
specifics.
we go to executive session to discuss this or not?
You can talk to the attorney this afternoon, since it's a property transfer and there's possible money implications. You can go into executive
Okay.
Do
session.
we need an executive session?
Yes. I make a
Okay.
motion to go into executive session.
Motion by Johnita. Second,
I'll make it.
Dennis. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. It is 7:39. And this will just take a few minutes.
Yes.
And if you'll mute your mic.
We did. No, leave it on.
Yeah, okay.
My feet are frozen.
I'm still alive.
I'm actually about right this evening.
You can throw it on your feet.
My wife and I, we fight all the time about temperatures.
One of those up and down.
We're doing stuff.
You know, last time I saw Benny, Dad.
David, I think, Jay. Yours named after Jay.
You ready? Right.
All right, I need a motion to return.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Johnita, second by Dennis.
I'll do it.
What time did we go in?
7:39.
7:39.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0, and it is 8:05. No decisions were made while we were in executive session. We are back to consideration and the possible action on the submitted written proposals for the Westmoreland property.
I'd like to make a motion.
I'll second.
I'd like to make, here's my motion. I would like to, let me explain my motion.
Let me hear the motion first.
Okay.
Motion, Mark.
I move to transfer the ownership of the Westmoreland property, the gymnasium and the 2 classrooms to the Westmoreland Historical Society and the Vincent Youth League.
So the motion is to transfer the property, part of the property.
Yeah.
To our Benson Westmoreland Community Historical Society.
Right.
Support. I can get
And that would be the gym and the connecting classrooms. Everyone clear on that?
Yes.
Any questions or concerns about the motion?
And just to be clear, the youth league wasn't part of the proposal. They're included in the proposal, but the property, the contract that we'll work on would take place with the historical society. Yep. So is everybody clear on the motion?
Yes.
Any questions, concerns, discussion?
Did we have a second?
I did.
We did just now. So second by Johnita. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nope.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
I say thank you.
you so much.
We'll do the best we can, but.
We have no doubt. So we
Okay.
need
You
us.
don't used to teach them?
Yeah, I used one of those classrooms was my classroom for about 15 years.
Oh, yeah. So you're just going back home then.
Yeah, I want to say taking the blackboards off the wall. Now they got a computer on there. You believe that?
I can't believe it.
So that leaves a portion of the property, that's
Right.
the 6 classrooms.
So,
Promethean board? Yeah.
so we can make, does anyone have a motion for the remainder of the property?
I have a motion for the remainder of the property to give Mr. Alexander the authority to enter back into negotiations on dispersal of the remainder of that property.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mark, second by Randy, to allow Mr. Alexander to negotiate the remainder of the property with other entities. Any questions or concerns on the remainder of that Westmoreland property? No discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Hey, wait.
Thank
You
you all.
guys ready to get out of here?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's just
now.
They get their way and they take off.
Right?
But we do want to thank you guys.
It's only gonna take me 45 minutes to get over the call.
I'll be in touch.
You're probably the only one in here slower than me.
Contact.
Yeah.
Sometime.
Seeing you.
It's good to see you.
She's on her way back from.
96,
Bye.
how long is that? 30-some years?
Long time. Well, Brian is getting older.
Oh, yeah.
What years did you teach there?
I was down there in 94, 95, 95, 96.
Yeah.
And I figured out as assistant principal, I wasn't making much more than the
Mr. Fullerton.
the teachers, and it was a whole lot of work. And
We're taking a picture.
Sorry. It's for
Sorry,
posterity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Too soon. Thank you.
take care. Say hello to everybody for me.
Gina,
Yes.
just, excuse me just a second while you talk, I'll talk to
Hey, I told Johnita that you was wondering where the coffee was.
Yeah. When I was on the board, we had coffee.
They stopped it.
We try to keep the meeting shorter.
Yeah.
We found that coffee makes them last longer.
You know it does.
It's short and sweet.
I was telling them we had a meeting one night. It was almost midnight before we got it.
Yeah.
That was one of the shorter ones.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, this was longer than most of them
Yeah.
for
All
us.
right. We can move on now to number 6, consider for approval of the out-of-state travel request. Employee to travel to Elevate Conference in Nashville, Tennessee on
I'll make a motion.
June 13th through the 15th. Title,
Dennis made the motion.
I'll second.
all right, let's just hurry and we'll just.
And it
move on
is
through
Title
there.
IV funded.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Dennis was in a hurry.
Any
I
opposed?
beat you that time.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 7, consider for approval the bid for mowing services for the 2025 mowing season. And we,
So moved.
Mark,
Mark.
Second.
second by Randy. Any questions or concerns on
The,
that?
the
services?
low bid on that, through the bidding process was Holland's Lawn Care at the $95,000.
Is it my understanding that's about 10,000 less than the previous contract?
5,000 less.
5,000? Okay.
Okay, Holland's Lawn Care.
I didn't know anything went down in price anymore.
Yeah. we
Unless
were-
it's overpriced.
Big job.
Any other discussion?
I think.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 8, consider for approval the amendment to comprehensive educational facilities plan.
And I included that, I think I included that on page 34.
Look at this.
Okay, so we've talked about, we were applying for a major improvement project that included safe school entrances at some of our schools, Spring Valley High School, Tulsa High School, Benson Middle, Kellogg. In our current CEFP, we had 3 of those schools listed in there already for those projects, but Kellogg was not listed. So I needed to list that and then change some budget items in the CEFP application. So I provided you the information that we're recommending. This is the application that goes to the State Department of Ed. The state board also has to approve this. And it has to be a part of our CEFP for it to be considered for funding. So this application allows us to meet that requirement.
All right, I need a motion.
I make a motion.
Dennis, second by Johnita. Any questions or concerns? Our amendment. None heard. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Number 9, consider for continuation of the fire services courses for the 25-26 school year.
Yeah, so the plan is, in talking with Chief Cottle, the plan is to expand those classes to Spring Valley High School next year.
In a block.
Yes.
Excellent.
I'll make a motion
Motion by
to approve.
Second.
Johnita, second by Mark. Any other questions or concerns? Are we still funded through
The grant funding.
private service training?
We're going to try to seek funding for next year, correct? Do we have to apply again?
We'll probably need to.
Yeah.
Just to kind of let y'all update, I've got 6 students in my Wayne class. So far, all of them have passed 4 out of their 5 state tests.
Wow.
And I've got a fire truck. Lavallette Fire Department donated a fire truck. And I've got a whole trailer full of equipment. And the sheriff is going to give me a trailer to put all the stuff in.
Good.
And it's been an experience.
Right?
It's been an experience, but 4 of the students are already on volunteer fire departments. So Lavallette's going to pick up 1, Wayne's going to pick up 2, and Eastland's going to pick up 2.
Fantastic.
So I
That's
think
good.
I think it's a good program. And I think the students are learning a lot.
The longer we have it, the more noted, you know.
Interest will grow.
Right.
I anticipate with just kind of the timing thing, at Spring Valley, if we do it in the block, we should be able to take 12 to 14 students to have time for all the practicals and all of that.
Great.
And I will say that I know I've shared it with you as before. I would know I have with Mr. Alexander. This has got out across the state, and I'm getting people from all across the state. How do we get this started? How do you do that? And, you know, it's not just being a firefighter, but the life skills that they're going to learn in that, you know, and the responsibility thing. I think it's a great thing.
Makes the community safer too.
It is.
You can see the maturity level of the students, kind of growing as we go.
Right.
And I've got a sophomore, I've got a junior, and 4 seniors in the class. And I think it's worked out really well. I have to tell you this little story. I was walking down the hall, and one of the teachers came up to me, and she says, "Are you that fire services instructor?" I said, "Yes, ma'am."
Maybe.
She says, "Well, I just want you to know that you're a distraction." She says, and I'm thinking distraction. She says, "Yeah, I can't pay attention to teaching for all you guys."
That's great.
So I appreciate all y'all have done, and I know that the students really appreciate it.
I think it also it goes along with a good instructor.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I appreciate that. And one other thing I might mention is that after going through a whole year of this, I think it would be extremely difficult to do this class second semester for the simple fact of the snow days, because there's only about a 6 to 8 hour window, you know, time wise. And if we were doing the block now, we would be sore for time to finish.
Gotcha.
So that would be my comment on that. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So the motion by Johnita and second by Mark for continuation of our fire service courses. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Potential items for a future agenda.
Yeah, we are working on, we've had a lot of property discussion tonight. We were working on the transfer of the Fort Gay property to the town of Fort Gay. So there's a chance, I can't guarantee it, but we have our attorneys talking with Fort Gay's attorneys doing the paperwork. So hopefully I'll be able to bring that to you for your approval, maybe at our next regular meeting.
That'd be good.
That's all I have.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Nobody wants a second?
Yeah.
Johnny?
Second.
I think Dennis wanted to say something.
Dennis, did you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Serving my home community, I was trying to come up with a proposal. Sooner or later, I know I've talked to Todd about it, about fencing in where the old high school was at Buffalo, especially towards the street, and trying to get volunteers or somebody to get some playground equipment in there, because I think it would serve the community. It would make it safer for a lot of the kids that go to those midget football games and middle school football games and everything else. A distraction, something for to do, because I know when my kids were involved in it, when they weren't playing, they put in about 15 miles all around the stadium and
Right.
stuff. You never knew where they were at.
There's fencing already around the parking lot. I wonder if we could just reconfigure where we have it and then add to that.
Somewhere around that Wellman,
Shelter.
shelter.
Good idea.
I seconded that.
Second the idea or second the motion?
Second the motion.
All right. So motion to adjourn by Randy, seconded by Johnita. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. It is
There you go.
8:18.
8:18.
You beat her. Fist bump.
It's a late night
Thanks
for
to
us.
those that joined us online.
Done.
Printed out, found it.